A game changer. An individual who alters the way things are done. They find ways to stand out with their actions and personality. Game changers switch things up and form new strategies and business plans to place them above the competition. Game changers do things differently, thus transforming the landscape. Vince Adams is a media personality, DJ, and entrepreneur. Called invincible by many, this businessman started DJing while still in college at Florida A&M. His services are often sought out by major organizations and professional groups all around the world. In 2020, Vince Adams, like many creatives, had to figure out a way to still connect with his audience in the midst of a global pandemic. The charismatic DJ launched a series of productions that kept many grooving to the sounds of hip-hop, R&B, soul, and house music from the comfort of their own homes. Combining his business acumen, personality, and talent, Vince Adams continues to expand his brand and businesses while engaging thousands via his Twitch and Sirrus Radio shows. Check out my conversation with this incredible creative. Ladies and gents, I present a game changer, the invincible DJ Vince Adams.
No, you know me. We've this is not our first rodeo, so whatever you throw.
I know.
I'm good to go.
Okay, so let's start with kind of at the beginning. At the beginning of the pandemic, with everything being kind of shut down, you made a decision to start doing these live shows that eventually, started on Facebook, but because of all the stuff that was going on with them, you moved it to a different platform. And it has gone beyond just you playing music for a couple of hours for people to listen to.
Right.
You've really been able to create a community and build upon your already existing brand. Where did all of this come from? What inspired you to even do this at the start of the pandemic?
D-Nice. In a different way than you may expect how he did. It was really the first party that everybody called me. I got a couple calls early in the week like, yo, D-Nice is going live. Ninth Wonder is going live. Questlove is going live. I was getting calls about different DJs who were going live. And, at the point that was happening, I was like, oh, that's fantastic. I didn't think anything of it. And then that Saturday that D-Nice got the, oh, Michelle Obama, oh, Oprah, oh, Janet Jackson, oh, Naomi Campbell.
Yeah.
That day people started hitting me like, are you here? Are you here? Are you watching it? And I said, no, I'm absolutely not. I just wasn't interested. And I know Derek. I mean, he's a great guy, but it just, my mom had been asking me actually weeks before that, like, you should do something for us on, Facebook. And I was like, I don't even know how to go live on Facebook. Like,
right.
I literally didn't know how to go live. But when I went to that party, I saw two things. One, it was a moment. Like, there was a lot of fear in the country. I think that was actually the weekend that at O'Hare Airport, you had the customs lines that were like 6 and 7 hours, and it was just a lot of fear in the air. So the one thing is that I just saw that it was a pleasant distraction, that people, for that time were kind of really caught up, and it was a moment. People really got caught up into it. The second thing that I saw was that unless you were a or B list celebrity, you were not going to get recognized in that party. And that's when I said to myself, you know what? I think I can do this, but I can do it in a different way. Where, if you went to a HBCU, or if you went to Illinois State, or if you went to Southern Illinois, if you went to U of I, or if you, just different dynamics that I didn't see the everyman have the opportunity to get recognized at that party. I was like, I think I can do this, and I can do it with a little twist. And, that first house party that I did had like over 50,000 views, but I think it was kind of like more the organic nature, kind of more the communal nature of it, as opposed to you being a regular person looking up into VIP, like, oh, wow, the party's
right.
over there. Like it was everybody's party. So it was really the fact that I said, I think I can do what Derek is doing, but kind of do it in a way that makes it everybody's party. And trust me, I think if I had Lenny Kravitz and all the other people in my party, it would be kind of hard to see everybody else too if you had
Right.
all your heroes and idols in the party. So, certainly not a knock to him,
Hmm.
but certainly an opportunity to do it different.
Well, I do remember plenty of outdoor events because most of my friends and I we gathered on porches and back porches, and that's you were the soundtrack.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
everyone would plug up a phone and be like, "We listening to events," and we would enjoy our barbecue or whatever. But you're right, it did create this distraction because we're all stuck in the house. Nobody really knew what was going on. But you said it. I had no idea how to go live. So you decide to do this platform. What did you have to do to actually prepare to put together a live show? People don't realize you don't just, plug up your phone and just get going. You actually had
No,
to do some things to prepare.
man, I had to call and borrow a sound module because they were all gobbled up in the in the. I mean, I'm sure like webcams were 800. Not that much, but
Yeah.
everybody overpriced everything because really
Yeah.
became anything that had to do with virtual became a super hot commodity. So I didn't have any of the things other than my actual DJ set up in order to go. So I was like, hey, Wild Child, can I use your sound module? And lots of time on YouTube and Google trying to figure some things out. So it turned out to be a pretty perfect storm for me because my undergrad is in business. I've been an entrepreneur since 2004, full time. So I've kind of like been full time entrepreneur, full time corporate. We know how that is where
Hmm.
you're burning the candle on both ends, but
Yes,
cut
Lord.
corporate off, right? Cut corporate off in 2004. So you have this entrepreneurial, kind of like backbone, but this corporate background, this, you know, um, Jesuit master's degree from DePaul in computer science, an incredible network from FAMU and Whitney Young, you know, only child raised. My younger brother is 15 years younger than me. So, a lot of time on a computer in the 80s by myself figuring things out. So COVID kind of turned into the perfect storm of all of these different things: my network, my nerd computer background, my master's background, my, FAMU network, all of these, Whitney Young, all these things kind of converging into one space. So a lot of it was, certainly blessing, but then, I do happen to be kind of be the let me figure it out kind of person. So there was a lot of figuring out like what it is that
Yeah.
I can do today. Today, being in February, I didn't know any of this February of 2020. I was actually getting ready for, we were all getting ready for the NBA All-Star weekend, which
Yeah.
was, Valentine's weekend of last year. So
Yeah.
yeah, so many things that I can do now. It's really a lot of sleepless nights in front of YouTube and Google, but the first way to go was just an iPhone. And hey, DJ Wildchild, can I borrow your, interface so that I can send my sound from the system into the iPhone, and everything just kind of grew from there. And needless to say, my neighbors weren't happy. So I've only done one party from home, and that was that very first party. And so there's a lot of changes. A lot of people don't think about all the different nuances and things that go into what you have to do to provide a virtual party format for people
Hmm.
in their homes. There's certainly a lot that goes into it.
Well, let's talk about the format because we have seen your format even evolve. Like I've been traumatized by some of the things that have happened on your Twitch with the game show challenges.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
y'all killed me with Love Jones and Beyonce. You broke my heart.
I can believe it.
But having, raffles and then having the one gotta go where,
Hmm.
you know, throughout the show has really made your show interactive.
Right.
So you're playing music, people are chit chatting and going off about whatever the question of the day is, entering raffles. So you've made this kind of interactive in a number of ways. We're
Hmm.
connecting together via the music,
Right.
but we're also having conversation.
Right.
And then you're also having conversation with the audience. Was that a conscious decision to kind
Yes.
of make it more interactive?
Absolutely. I think that's an incredible question and something that a lot of, DJs should think about. So last time we sat together, one of the things that we discussed was Voices of House Music, which was, a, I guess you could say one-on-one conversation with myself and a person that is a tastemaker, legend,
Hmm.
pioneer, somebody that has a hand in either the past, present, or future of house music. And that came out of the fact that I saw all the DJs kind of doing one thing. It was like
Hmm.
I DJ and that's all I do. And one of my idols, in a way, is Steve Harvey. Now, the reason he is because you've got the Steve Harvey talk show that was out at that time. You've got the Steve Harvey radio show. You've got Think Like a Man as a book. You've got executive producer of Think Like a Man, the movie. Horrible book. Couldn't get past page 30.
Agreed.
Right. But absolutely love the ingenuity of not wanting to be painted as a one trick pony as a stand up comedian. I mean,
Hmm.
so he actually expanded his umbrella, his brand to be like so much bigger, like kind of like a Black Regis, if you
Yeah.
will. Like, yeah, I can do a game show, I can do a talk show, I can do a radio, I can do all of these things. And so I love his diversity, the fact that he's always just working the angles. And so that's what I do in the virtual world is work the angles where now I have a talk show on Sirius XM, but it was, the birth of that was, the house music show that I did. So going to the interactive dynamic, what I started to understand was that now Twitch, Facebook Live, all these different media, YouTube, compete with Viacom. They compete with, Channel 2, 5, 7, 9, your local ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, BT, MTV, Bravo, all of those channels. You can only watch one thing at a time. So what's
Hmm.
moving you from, this place over here? And I said, you know what? There's very few opportunities that people have to insert themselves into the party unless it's a request. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not
Right.
necessarily where DJs want to shine is, hey, I play everybody's request. And to any DJs who feel that way, it's not a knock as well. But I don't like requests, but I like interaction. I like call and response. I like an opportunity for people to feel like they have a part in the show. Because here's what I can tell you about my show that's called Something's Gotta Go. Something's Gotta Go started in August as an idea. And I said, wow, I should have people pick their favorites. And my wife, Kalila, she said, you know what? You know those boxes that show up on Instagram or that show up on Facebook where they're like, it's Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey and Beyonce and this
Yeah.
person. And which one you have to get rid of? She's like, those conversations are far more spirited than everybody picking their favorite. It's like they wind up politicking for the one that they either want to kick off or don't want to get kicked off. It's just a different, it's a psychology, psychological shift, if you will. And so my thought in coming up with a game like that is that for you to actually be in your house and be able to hit a number on your phone or on your keyboard. It's almost like when we go to Buffalo Wild Wings back in the early
Yeah.
2000s and they had like the TV up there and you got to play from your table, and that was kind of like a good way for people to pass the time while they were waiting for their table to open up. I was like,
Hmm.
wow, what if everybody could have that interactive exchange, but live time get to see that their vote counts?
Right.
And so that's where the show came from, because you can run polls and ask questions, but for people to actually see when I hit the button, my vote counts. There's a certain level of ownership in that experience. And here's what I mean by it. There are very few people who the next day, 10 minutes before my show, say, wow, I wonder what incredible edit he's going to play. Like, they're not even thinking about the music. They're like, I wonder what the question is. I'm still mad about the
Yeah.
question from 3 days ago. And really, so there it is, you and Beyonce. So that's my point, is that if you can create something that people can emotionally connect to, everybody has music. Everybody has music, but what is it that I can do to differentiate myself? But at the same time, do a set like I did today for House Nation Music, where there is
Hmm.
no engagement, kind of go back to the roots of comedy, like, Steve Harvey, like, hey, don't forget, I am a stand up comedian, even though I hosted Apollo. I
Hmm.
can't get up as a king of comedy and just do what I do raw. So it's great to have the opportunity to, show my DJ chops in the same lane as, other great DJs and just play the music, but at the same time do a 10,000 steps party that's more interactive. And I was like, what if everybody can have like a soundtrack for their workout, but not somebody telling them five more, six more.
Right.
Like, so you can sit there and you can smoke a cigar, you can take a shot, or you can ride your Peloton. You can, so I think about these things that create a level of engagement, but at your rate. If you just want to kind of like be a fly on the wall and see what's happening, that's an opportunity. But at the same time, if you want to, kind of put your energy into it, it becomes, your party as well. And that's part of the
Yeah.
community that you discuss as well.
And that's what I think I love about it. That's what kind of keeps, at this point, there's so many people who are doing Twitch shows. You really, it's competition now.
Right. Yeah.
So, what is going to bring me to your show every day in the afternoon? Just like you said, what's the question? What is he going to do to me today? What kind of question is he going to have?
Right.
But you also, in addition to that, you're highlighting small businesses. You're, repping for you're asking DJs, hey, drop your Twitch links, let people know who you are. So it's not just about self, for lack of a better
no,
word.
not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, last time we talked, I was creating the, online DJ directory to help
Right.
DJs better be found in the virtual world. And, God bless my web developer who started doing big things in real estate, and it kind of like fell to the back burner. But, credit to Twitch and other places that kind of got better with their search engines and provided more access for the DJs. So when I was doing that early on, there wasn't necessarily a great way to find DJs on Twitch. And if you put in the name DJ Alan King, it might not show up, even though Alan's got, 600 people at that time following him or
Right.
something like that. So it's gotten a lot better. But my thought always wasn't like, what's in it for me? It's like, how can I create a bridge, a portal by which other people can move from Facebook or from the traditional physical world into this virtual space and create a brand, create a name, create a connection with people. So it's never been just about me. And that, speaks to the number of organizations that I've had large and successful events too, where they made more money virtually in 2020 at my virtual event for a fundraiser than maybe in their in-person event the year before. But, hey, you can either have a party at the Radisson or at the Marriott where everyone is in one room, or you can have a party across the country or even across the world that, people didn't have to fly to, but the party meets them in their living room, in their basement, bedroom, kitchen. You might get a few more people that are willing to donate and a few more people willing to show up because they didn't have to go anywhere and they got the party in their socks.
Right. And you really cultivate it's an experience, just like you would at a in-person event. The virtual experience, whether it's highlighting small businesses, whether it's having these interactive conversations or raffle, you also have the visuals behind you. Like, you have taken the time to actually craft a show. For lack of a better word.
Let me throw something your way because, like I said, this is our first conversation, and, congratulations to you and your success and all the things that have happened. Certainly, your name is on a lot of tongues for a lot of great reasons. So I want to, spread some love your way as well. One of the things that we talked about the last time that we sat down, I guess this is where my interviewer thing starts to kick in. But, all deference to your show. But I do have a question because this is a hot topic that we talked about last time we got together. And that was my call and response, my vocal dynamic on the mic for a lot of people, and a lot being a small percentage, but a loud percentage was like, I just want to hear the music. I just want to. But now you see a different level of acceptance, a different level of, I kind of like hearing my name. I kind of like having input. I kind of like this exchange thing, as opposed to, not to say that it's everyone's cup of tea, but, do me a favor and share with me from, the listener or the viewer, the attendee perspective, what you've seen as kind of like the adoption of this more engaging style of virtual as opposed to just shut up and play the song.
Right. I think, with the beginning of the pandemic, nobody knew how long this was going to last. You know what I mean? So we're tuning into a show. It's an escape. We want to hear some music. But as we've been at home more and more, for months and months are going by with not a lot of human interaction, not a lot of human contact.
Right.
That desire to connect has been growing and growing. So, you know what? If I am stuck in the house, let me get on Twitch and actually participate, because there are people who listen to Twitch, and go about their day or whatever. But I think the idea of connecting has grown the longer we've stayed in the house,
Sure.
where people are starting to embrace actually having these conversations. And then when you're acknowledging them, or when somebody is being acknowledged, I've experienced it even releasing music in a year that was virtual. It allowed me to connect with people who listen to my song on the show, and I connect with them right away personally.
Right.
That brought my name out more than it ever has before. If it's being played at a party, I can't connect with everybody
Right.
immediately. So it's allowed me to do that. It's allowed artists to do that when presenting their art. And I would say the same, you're presenting your art as a DJ, as an artist, and we're being able to connect with you and say, "Hey Vince, what's up? I'm in the building." And you're like, "What's up, Black Widow? Good to have you here," or whatever.
Right.
Those things, we've been craving more of that. I don't think we anticipated what this virtual world was going to be and how
Mhm.
long we were going to be in it. But I do think now that we are, it's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
And again, there are people who will never come out to a party. They're just not at that phase of life, but they love the music.
Right.
So this has allowed even more people to be exposed to your brand, my brand. We've been able to connect and keep our art alive that way. So I think
Mhm.
that's been the benefit. But that had to come with some time. In February, March, we didn't think we would still be doing it in the summertime.
Right. Fair
We
enough.
thought we'd still,
That
be
was a
out. So I think
45
it's
day, 60-day at most
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But you're right. It definitely, for us to be inside, this has probably been like the best. It was 2020 was a phenomenal year for me,
Mhm.
you know, in spite of it all, in spite of not being able to travel and promote music a certain way. We learned how to do it differently. And I've gained so many new fans and new viewers as a result. And I'm sure you've experienced the same.
Absolutely.
We've been able to connect on a different level.
Mhm. Yeah, one of the things that I say just about this entire dynamic is a lot of people in the industry, entertainment as a whole. So entertainment specifically, not restaurant industry and other industries that don't necessarily have the opportunity to take advantage of virtual in the same dynamic. So specific to the entertainment industry, you heard a lot of, well, when things go back to normal, when things go back to normal. And this is what I understood. And I haven't been able to articulate it until now.
Mm.
So this is what I understood, and this is what I can articulate, is that most people were not in the club anyway. If we really think about it, most people were at home.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a nightlife, there was a club festival, there was but that's probably 8 to 12% of people.
Yeah.
90, 2 to 88 to 92% of people were at home. For
Mm-hmm.
the first time, that audience is having the entertainment brought to them because they are now the primary, I guess you could say recipient, the
Mm-hmm.
primary attendee, where before everything was catered to the 8 to 12%
Yeah.
that would, come out on a Saturday night, be out on a Wednesday night, but that wasn't most people. So when people say when things go back to normal, well, when like now that there's an audience that had never been catered to that's being catered to, they're not about to start going out and doing things that they weren't
Right.
doing before. And now you've got that 8 to 12%. Not everyone who is doing that is about to go back out as well. So for that reason, if anyone in entertainment hasn't taken advantage of these platforms, not just Twitch, just whatever it is, be it, create a podcast, be it create
Mm-hmm.
a interview show, whatever it is that would allow people in other countries to touch you that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be the case. And you're waiting for normal.
Mm-hmm.
There is no normal as it was. It's all about, really this new world of virtual.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we saw that especially with a lot of the festivals that people would travel to.
Hmm.
Normally, I'm traveling to music festivals, but having festivals brought to you, I was able to attend more festivals than I've ever attended, previously for, expenses, work related, time off, things like that. So, again, I agree. There are not too many people, especially in our demographic, who were club regulars, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
There are people who come out, hey, I come out to the picnic and the block party, and I do a couple of things every year, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
So I definitely agree. This is here to stay. And as an artist, or any kind of creative, quite frankly, you have had to learn how to pivot and figure out this new programming. And that's something that I tell the members of our organization that I run. They're all content creators. What are you doing now? Because the way you did business, that there is no normal, there's a new normal, and
Right.
it includes a virtual component. And like you said, it's your job to learn it. It's your job to learn the equipment you're going to need, your job to learn the technology and how to work this stuff. And it takes a lot of time, as you can see with my webcam that went off. But so I wanted to talk because there was I think there was like a social media post where someone was like, Vince is killing it. He needs to be on radio. And you were like, thanks, fam. But you know what? The
Yeah.
freedom I have right now is so good. Like
Thank
I'm
you,
I'm
Cheese. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and
Cheese posted that.
have people been asking like why you continue to stay on a platform like Twitch instead of going to something like radio? What is keeping you on these platforms? What kind of freedom and independence do you have versus possibly going to like a radio show or something like that?
Radio is always, you've got a boss, and your boss, number one, is your listener, and then number two is your mix show coordinator or program director, or whoever that is. And more likely than not, that person, be it the audience or the mix show coordinator, has a guideline that they want you to follow with your expression. So
Yeah.
it's very unique for me to be in this virtual space of Twitch where I can play an Anita Baker bounce song and then play, Father Figure by George Michael. Either one of those songs might clear the dance floor in the physical world, but it kind of has its place in the way that you can do things in virtual. It's so liberating because, the world changed with the selfie. Believe it or not, club world changed with the selfie. Prior to camera phones, the party was about the dance floor. So you could come to the Buddha Lounge, you could go to the Spy Bar, you could go, to so many different, places. Red Dogs. You could go so many different places. And I won't even go back to Medusa's. And I'm just saying, even in the late '90s, there were places
Yeah.
that you could go that were like you walked in the door and it was a party from the time you walked in. Shelter, China Club. I mean, drink. There were just places you could go with like 700 people that were dancing nonstop virtually. Selfies come in and it kind of becomes more about seeing be seen, bottle service. And so I say
Yeah.
that to say that people got less like, where's the DJ taking me? And they kind of like wanted the DJ, yo, play that song by. And with that being the case, just in general club life, of course, there's exceptions because some people are like, no, generally speaking, of course,
Yeah.
there's exceptions. But I shared that period to say that Twitch has kind of got us back into what's the DJ doing? Where you taking us? What I'm open to that course, and you don't necessarily get that same freedom, that same liberty in terrestrial radio, not even
Hmm.
really in satellite radio, if you
Yeah.
will. You would kind of have to create your own podcast or your own Mixcloud, channel or something like that in order to have that. But it's a static thing where you don't have that immediate reaction from an audience. So that to me is the dynamic that would kind of make me prefer this Twitch environment over
Hmm.
the radio, is because people now are kind of tuning back in and DJs are getting the best compliment that you could ever get from a person. And it's not, man, that was a hot party. It's a great compliment, not the best part. I mean, not the best compliment. The best compliment that a DJ can get is, man, what's the name of that song? What's the name of that song? Like, what is that? Because there's so
Yeah.
many people that got accustomed to, like, I ain't never heard that before, like they haven't heard it and they just tune out
Yeah.
automatically. Twitch is kind of getting people back into asking, man, what's that song? I haven't heard of that. And DJs are actually breaking music, introducing older music, doing things that otherwise you couldn't do in a terrestrial or even a physical dynamic. It's allowing DJs to get back to being selectors, being curators, and creating a moment that people walk away from like, man, he played everything from this to this. And that was incredible. Where even at the house, picnic, people are like, why are they playing this stuff? We don't know. We want to sing along or what. But now it's
Hmm.
getting back to, oh, wow. Like, Terry flipped this. So, man, I heard Alan play this and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So, that's a great place to be. And that's a very lengthy, but at the same time, relative to this virtual world that we're talking about, I wanted to kind of explain it in that context, just to share what a benefit it's been to DJ in this place, because it's allowing DJs to get back to not only engaging with people but breaking music as well.
Breaking music. And I could not agree with you more. Obviously, as an artist first, I've heard, obviously my music was broken on Twitch, but then they would go back and play songs that I've done 3, 4 years ago. And people are like, oh, I heard, oh, that was you. Like they're connecting
Right.
to it differently, but they're also listening. We're listening to the lyrics of songs more. And like you said, I think you guys you'll go back and play some songs when you're doing, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't heard that in so long. And I'll add it right to my little playlist,
Right.
just I'm revisiting
Hmm.
songs that I hadn't heard in a long time and forgot how much I love them versus new music and being introduced not only to new artists, but to new DJs. So even after your shows are over, you'll say, you know what, we're going to head to such and such Twitch page, and I'll stay on and like, oh, this dude is good. Like I haven't
Right.
heard of him
Right.
before. So
Hmm.
I'm being introduced to new DJs who are also playing new music. So it's expanding my musical palette, for lack of a better
Absolutely.
word. And that's what we used to love the most about DJs, where DJs were playing songs that we like, but they were also educating us through their playlist, through their, musical selection.
I think
So I
no, I was
think
just gonna say,
Twitch has allowed you guys to stretch a
I've
lot
added more
more.
songs to my collection in the last 9 months than I have in the last 2, 3 years.
Wow.
Easily last 3 years. Easily
So
the
you
last
find
3 years.
yourself digging more, getting more music, and
Absolutely.
putting it out for the audience and getting you getting immediate reactions
Absolutely.
to songs. So to me, you're also honing your craft, you're building your brand, you're expanding your audience. It's nothing but wins at this point.
Let me,
Uh,
I'll explain it from this standpoint. And being a native Chicagoan, you'll get this. Two things about Chicago. Three. One, if you came up in the '80s as a DJ, you had to learn how to blend, or you would be physically removed from the decks. Two, you had to have your own style, because there was a thing in the '80s called biting, that
mm-hmm.
if you were, doing what another, there was no Prince Marky D as a solo artist because there was a Heavy D. There was no Grandfather IU because there was a Big Daddy Kane. Like any artist that came and they were kind of like the other guy, it was like that
Yeah.
person didn't get, and that just, so those two things. One, you had to have skills, and then two, you had to be original. What that led to is the third thing was people could say, I remember where I was the first time I heard Time Marches On. I can remember the DJs wanted to be DJs, not to play what was already popular,
Mm.
but they wanted to find new music to expose people to in the '80s. That was the whole thing. You wanted the hits and you wanted the catalog that rocked, places, but you also wanted that Mr. Fingers, or that song, or that edit that other people didn't have. And now we're kind of getting back to, as DJs, being able to expose people to that. And I wanted to kind of make that arc where this isn't like a new thing for us. This is actually where most of us who started DJing in the late '70s or '80s came from, was introducing people to new music. That was like the fabric of what it is of why we became a DJs, which is why you hear DJ say, "I'm not a jukebox," or "I'm not a push button." Like they definitely want to expose people to things they've never heard before.
So you're kind of able to get back to your roots.
There it is. I mean, that's
Yeah.
in simplest terms, absolutely.
Yeah. That's dope. So wrapping it up, what's next? What aren't you doing right now that you want to do? What are the goals and plans for
The,
2021?
the reason that things are working for me is I work a day at a time. I literally work a day at a time, and I get an idea, 10,000 steps party. Pew! In 3 days, there's a new party. I get an idea. Pew! Late lunch mix. 4 days, there's a new, voices of house music. 4 days later, there's like I literally work, it's kind of like the video game called Dragon's Lair, where the guy used to ride the horse and then the light used to light up and go bing, and you had to go that way when the light lit up and then bing. Like that's what I do, split second decision. So I'm not really like 6 months from now.
Oh, okay.
I'm really taking everything as it comes. So my schedule, like I just had somebody hit me and say, "We'd like to book you for Juneteenth." And I'm like, "I'm booked June 19th." And they're like, "Can we get another time?" Or, I'm booked like March 1st, May 1st for the Derby. And people like, "Can I get you May 2nd?" It's like, like really things are so stacked right now with the innovation, and
Mm.
that's what attracts people. So I just stay innovating. So the next thing that's coming is a new show that I'm debuting this week called Two Bros in a Video, where I'm connecting with a fast new friend of mine, incredible guy, DJ Chaotic out of Connecticut, and another Connecticut DJ named DJ Chance. And we're going to actually sit around and shoot the ish about music videos. And it's more of a
Oh.
variety show where you're going to hear songs that you probably might not get in a mix, like Piano in the Dark by Brenda
Mm.
Russell or Rock Me Amadeus or a Little Yachty video or anything, and just talk about like where times are now, where times were then, what are these kids saying? Just an interactive experience, and the funny thing about it is, Chaotic was like, "This is kind of what Beavis and Butthead used to do."
They did.
Back then, I was like,
They
"Dang."
did actually. They
Right. So I was
did.
like, there it is. Beavis and Butthead revisited 2021 with two Negro guys. Yeah.
Right.
You
Two
know,
black
right.
guys.
I'm like, this is so, but that dynamic, being able to just be a fly on the wall, but not only the fly on the wall, now you can put your interpretation in the chat. And now you can kind of interact with us and say, "What about the Kango?" And be like, "Oh yeah, what just the one with the brim was the one?" So that laugh right there is lets me know that idea of engaging people, but not because you're DJing, but you're actually watching something and we're watching it together and it's a watch party, but you never know what song is coming next. So it's like, "Oh, that was my joint, Stop, Look and
Right.
Listen by MC Light." Like, "Oh, remember the Jetta?" Everybody wanted a Jetta, and
As soon as you said Rock Me Amadeus, I immediately remembered the video. Like,
there
because
it
I was a
is.
video junkie. So,
But we wouldn't necessarily play that in a party. So that's the thing about Two Bros in the Video is there are going to be some contemporary songs in there, but the glue of the show is actually the history of music videos that we all grew up to, or the videos that are being made now, the mushmouth, mumble
yeah,
videos.
mumble rap.
And it's like that might be a video that comes up, and we're like, "Man, what did he rewind that? Like, what exactly did
What
he?"
was said? Right.
So we're gonna have a good time in both directions. But that was an idea that came to me on Sunday, and now, here it is. The show is coming out on Friday.
Oh, well, we're the opposite. Like, I have spreadsheets and charts and, and pie graphs. I think that's the former banker in me,
My
where it's like,
background was project management, so everything in my head is a project plan. It's
yeah.
just kind of like gets flushed out right away. But I'm always phase one, phase two, phase three implementation kind of
It's
thing. So
amazing how much your corporate experience plays in your creative life. I even see it as an
yeah,
artist. Like Terry, he knows I'm super analytical and kind of
right,
type A, but when I'm recording, he's like, let all that go.
right.
Like, what? So that's been like the challenge to kind of,
Yeah, I mean it's not a diss to DJs, but I'm like most DJs need managers and agents and people because they're not thinking about those dynamics. Me, I'm kind of a business guy that happens to be able to DJ.
Right.
So I kind of come at things far more from a business aesthetic than I do, just the pure art. And that's why a lot of things kind of work because I've kind of thought through different dynamics in it to sort it through to say, these are the things that we need to be conscious of, but this is, what's going
But
to
I think
take it
it
to the next level.
shows.
Thank
I
you.
think it shows in the quality of your show. Like
Thank you.
you can tell you put thought into it. How is the audience going to engage? People don't put thought in the visuals and making sure, hey, I'm taking you to the islands right now, and it'll be a visual of the Caribbean in the background or
Right, right.
whatever. And even with the polls, and I think when you did the power and black teas, having those things, all of that stuff is thought through
Thank you.
and thought out very well. So it shows. And I think that's why we call you a game changer.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you. Hey,
why we call you a game
that's a
changer.
look
So
at you
thank you
putting the
so
button on the
much.
on the conversation like
Yeah.
that. That's fantastic. No doubt.
But I appreciate you speaking with me, but this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to highlight people that are going above and beyond, just entertaining people,
No, I
creating
appreciate it.
experiences, and contributing to the culture in a brand new way that's here to stay, for lack of a better word.
Well, let me say in closing, one, my heartfelt sympathy and prayers and, just anything, that I can give as a, just a member of the human race to anybody who has dealt with loss, pain, illness, financial discomfort through this time. I don't look at the success and or the things that I'm doing without the understanding of the lens of where the world is right now.
Absolutely.
So I want to say that on that end, and to tie it in to say it's incredible that these have been the most creative 9 months that I've had in the last
Hmm.
15 years. Like this 9 month period from, I guess it's about 12 months. It's about a year now.
It's about a
But
year.
yeah, but from March, to February, it's been the most, but it's because I've had no reins. I haven't had the event promoter or I haven't had the event, venue owner or the client. It's kind of like me really expressing myself. And it's a level of success that, if everybody else could see themselves as their own promoter, their own venue owner, their own boss, and do the things behind it as opposed to just like, I'm talent. No, actually, you're so much more than that
Yeah.
in this space if you allow yourself to be. That's been an incredible level of vitality for me. Like I just feel far more spirited every day than I did before when it was like, okay, time to make the donuts. Even as an
Yeah.
artist, as a DJ, as a singer, you can feel like the routine of it. And this, really has opened me up. So I wanted to, first extend an understanding, but at the same time, also kind of be a light at the end of the tunnel for others who may be thinking like there's a lot of creativity within you. Just kind of have to find your lane within the space, but it's never been more wide open field than where it is today.
Vince, I can't tell you how much I connect with that. Like I tell people all the time, had it not been for the last year, I don't think I would have had the confidence to do a video.
Mm-hmm.
I've put out songs for years now, and this year was just like, I'm going to do it, you
Wow.
know, and wrote it and scripted, did storyboard, the whole thing, but just it boosted my confidence as an artist because just like you said, I was forced to kind of just tap into everything that's in me. And that has been something invaluable that I've gained through the experience. And I've talked to a lot of different creatives. Dion Cole said the same thing. This is why I got into doing this. It was like, why not? You're put
Oh yeah,
in
we've
this
had
kind
we've
of
had quite a few
situation.
conversations. I've talked to Dion. Dion and I lived across the hall from one another in the mid '90s. Like we like, he was like, "Would you turn that down?" Oh man, that's my cut. You can keep it going.
Right. You keep it.
So yeah, so Dion and I go back like literally to being neighbors, and we've talked more in the last 9 months than we have in the last 10 years. It's amazing.
Hmm. It's crazy. But my dad would always say, out of great pain comes great art. That's what he always says. My dad's
Wow.
a former actor. And it's been true
Mm-hmm.
across the board with film, TV, comedy, music. I have seen so much creativity come out of such a painful period. But I think it
Powerful.
has allowed so many of us to go back in, figure out what it is that we love, and push it out. Because at this point, we realize time waits for nobody. And if you're not going to do it, when are you going to get it done? So I think people have been risk takers, and the ones that have been the most successful at it have been the ones who have taken some of the greatest risk. And I will
Right.
put you right up
Well,
there.
thank you.
No one, no one would know how this would go, putting out, certain shows.
Right.
So, for lack of a better word, it takes balls to be
Fair
a
enough.
creative.
No, I appreciate that. I received that. No doubt. Appreciate you.
See,
Incredible time always, and I'm here for you anytime you need me.
I appreciate it. All right. Have a good show tonight.
You got it. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Blessing.
You can find DJ Vince Adams on all social media platforms at DJ Vince Adams. Tune into his show daily on Twitch at twitch.tv/DJ Vince Adams. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Game Changers. Tune in March 26th, where my special guest will be none other than Grammy Award-winning DJ, producer, remixer David Morales. This is Black Widow saying, see you next time.